Now we'll have a message for all ages, and I'm going to share a story today that is called The Selfish Giant, and it is adapted from a fairy tale by Oscar Wilde. The story begins, once there was a beautiful garden, and it was covered with soft grass and colorful flowers and peach trees ripe with pink blossoms in the spring and plump fruit in the fall. Or maybe the summer. We're about to have peaches around here too, aren't we? Each day, on their way home from school, groups of children would visit the garden. They would lie in the cool grass and hide among the trees, and they would pick the flowers for their parents and eat the sweet peaches for a snack. How happy they were. What the children didn't know was that the garden actually belonged to a giant. And this particular giant had taken a vacation, leaving his garden unattended for 7 years. Now, I don't know about you, but I would love a 7-year vacation. Anyway, then one day, out of the blue, the giant returned to find kids in his garden. "What are you doing here?" he cried in a gruff voice. That was my gruff voice. "This is my garden! Nobody can play here but me!" And to make his point clear, the giant locked the gate and nailed 2 sturdy planks of wood across the doorway, and he hung a sign that said, "Keep out." Oh no, blurred background. It says keep out, okay? The children watched the giant sadly. Now the children had nowhere to play. And as always happens in stories, soon spring turned to summer, and summer became fall, and then fall gave way to winter, and when winter started to say farewell, spring came again. And everywhere the land was full of birds and blossoms, everywhere, that is, except for the giant's garden. The birds refused to sing there, since no children would hear their songs. And similarly, the trees refused to blossom. A thick coat of snow remained on the ground. "I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming," the giant said as he looked out his cold, white garden. "I hope it will come soon." But spring never came in the garden, and neither did summer. And one morning, a strange thing happened. The giant was laying in bed when he heard a song that sounded so sweet to his ears that he thought he must be dreaming. But it was really a bluebird singing outside his window. It had been so long since he had heard a bird sing in his garden that it seemed to him the most beautiful music in the world. And the selfish giant sat up and looked out of the window, and what do you think he saw? It was a most wonderful sight. The kids had crept into the garden through a hole in the wall, and the trees were so happy to have them back again that they had covered themselves with pink and white blossoms. How do you think the giant reacted? Well, the giant's heart melted as he looked out. "How selfish I have been!" he cried. "Now I know why spring would not come." And he felt very, very sorry for what he had done. So the giant came downstairs and slowly opened the door. And as he entered the garden, he saw that in one corner it was still winter. And a little boy stood beneath the tree, stretching his arms up to reach in the high branches. And the poor tree was still quite covered with frost. And although the tree bent its branches as low as it could, the boy was too small to reach them. So the giant smiled at the boy as he lifted him gently, with consent, into the tree. And the tree broke into blooms, and the boy smiled at the giant and shyly said, Does this mean we can play in your garden again? From now on, this is your garden, answered the giant. You and your friends may come and play whenever you wish. And from then on, every day the children returned to play. And they brought friends and sisters and brothers and non-binary siblings as well. And it truly became a safe place for all children. Being selfish had made the giant lonely. But when he learned to share, friends filled his garden and happiness filled his heart. And to this day, the giant can be seen playing with children in the enchanted garden, and the trees make it pleasant, but it's the children that make it magical. And I would go far enough to say that it is the children that are a big part of what makes UUCC magical too. And not just the people who are shorter and have not been around as long, but those with hearts that are willing to wonder and those who are willing to play here together. I know many people who are children at heart who have been around for a little while. And there may be another lesson in this story about working against rules that are unjust, but we're going to save that story for another service. So, my challenge to you this week is simple. My challenge is to play. That's it. Go out, have some fun, and share a bit of your magic with the world. Thank you.